All right, so I realized I'm the last thing standing between all of you and happy hour. I will attempt to condense this even further. I'm Michelle Casbon. I'm an engineer here at Google on the Kubeflow team. We're here to talk about examples, Codelabs, and demos. What are they? Examples, you can find those in the root directory of the Kubeflow/examples GitHub repo. Those you generally interact with those directly in GitHub. They're in Markdown. There are a lot of detailed commands that you can run. You can download some scripts, run them yourselves, but they're pretty large. Codelabs are similar to that, but instead of reading GitHub Markdown, you have this nice, pretty formatting on top. So there's a renderer on top of the Markdown, and those are hosted. One of the places you can find them is codelabs.developers.google.com. Demos are something live like what we just saw. So it's all the code that you need to put on, to create one of those videos, to put on something. It's a presentation, it's a performance, it's a script, everything you need to do that. What's the difference between those three? Mainly it's timing. Examples are larger. They're self-paced and they can be very large, generally more than an hour for most of them. It's not a rule. Codelabs are also self-paced, but they're designed to be completed within a single setting. So between 45 minutes and an hour. For demos, they're much more precise in terms of timing. They can run anywhere from 5 to like a max of 30 minutes. In terms of scope, examples are much larger and they can highlight many different features. They can have lots of different subtrees. They can take you down a lot of different paths. Codelabs are smaller in scope and they're designed to take you through a single path. So to accomplish a single, very specific objective. And then demos are much more narrow in scope. They're designed to highlight just 3 or 4 key features. Level of detail, you get a lot more in examples, and you'll have links to context so that you can follow all of those rabbit holes if you'd like. With Codelabs, you have your context embedded, so you still have a high level of detail, but you're not following all these really long rabbit holes. Your rabbit holes are shorter and more contained. And then with demos, you want to have as little detail as possible because you're really trying to efficiently convey the advantages of your 3 to 4 features, and you want to minimize the context. You just want to provide the bare minimum so that your audience understands what's going on. Examples can have many different contributors. I think GitHub issue summarization has like 10 or more. Codelabs are generally between 1 and 3 people, and your demos is generally just a single person building a demo. So what do we have today? We have 6 or 7 big examples with a few more PRs outstanding. Nick, I'm looking at you. We want to get your Pachyderm one. I remember like last year, it was so close to being done. So we'll almost have a Pachyderm example. We have code search. If anyone was at KubeCon and saw Jeremy and Hamel's code, that one is really fantastic. It's probably the most complex and biggest one. The financial time series, pretty new. GitHub issue summarization, that's kind of the core for a lot of our other assets. MNIST and PyTorch MNIST, object detection, which uses GPU serving, and then an XGBoost example using housing data. There are 3 Codelabs with more on the way. GitHub issue summarization, one using just core components, and then one with pipelines on top, and then your standard intro that uses MNIST. There are a couple demos, one that's just a simple pipeline, and one that's sort of our bread and butter Yelp restaurant reviews. So where are we going from here? We really need to expand the tests that we have. Jeremy has a really good example out there, but we need more. Examples lend themselves well to getting stale easily. We want to be able to support more clouds. They're pretty GCP focused. But if you have other Kubernetes distributions that you're running these examples on, please commit those touch points. And this is a wish list that we've had for a long time. David has gotten on to me about this one forever, as long as I can remember. But we want to have a lot of smaller demos. We just have a few, but one of them is really big. And so if we had a couple smaller ones, it would be a lot more useful. Some open questions that we're looking at is the location of the examples. We started out by putting all of them across components into one Kubeflow examples repo. And as we've added new components like pipelines and Katib, we have examples specifically living with those components. And so there's a question of whether we want to continue to do that or bring them all together into one repo. And also, what of this content belongs at kubeflow.org? What is our entry point for new users? Where do we want to be sending people when they're brand new to the project? So how can you contribute? Add tests. That is the #1 highest impact thing you can do in this repo. We have a few outstanding issues. Go in and resolve them. Some of them are pretty simple. It's people going through Codelabs and encountering errors. I think I resolved one like an hour ago. Some of them are not that involved. The examples need to be using the latest version of Kubeflow. Ideally, we have tests to do that, but if there are some older versions, you can upgrade those. Again, adding support for other cloud distributions, adding some of the newly released features that haven't made it into the examples yet, adding smaller demos, reviewing PRs, and of course, creating issues is always encouraged. That's all I had. Enjoy yourselves. Thank you, everyone. Please go to the happy hour and mingle among yourselves. If you have any questions, I'll be there.